My name is Grace. I'm 38 years old. I have held a newborn in my arms when I was only 14. Changed diapers at 15. Worked 2 jobs at 17 so a little boy could eat dinner every night. That little boy was my brother, Marcus. Last October, I walked into his wedding reception. 200 guests. White roses. A string quartet. I found my seat at the very back table, the one closest to the kitchen door. And there, on a hand-calligraphed place card sitting on top of a folded napkin, was my name. Next to it, in parentheses, someone had written one word. Freeloader. I picked up that card. I read it twice. My hands didn't shake. My eyes didn't water. I just stood there, holding 24 years of sacrifice between my fingers, reduced to a single word on a piece of cardstock. Because what they didn't know, what nobody in that room understood yet, was that I had a manila envelope in my car. And what was inside that envelope was about to change the rest of Marcus's life. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you something. Wherever you're watching this from right now, your bed, your couch, your car, if you raised someone like your own child and they let someone call you a freeloader at their wedding, what would you do? Would you leave quietly? Would you make a scene? Or would you wait? Think about that. Because what I did. I don't think anyone saw it coming. The beginning nobody asks about. Let me take you back. Not too far. Just enough so you understand what that word on that card really cost. I was 14 when our mother died. Ovarian cancer. 8 months from diagnosis to funeral. Our father had left when I was 6. No forwarding address. No phone calls on birthdays. Just gone, like smoke through a screen door. When Mom passed, Marcus was 2. 2 years old. He couldn't say her name yet. He used to reach for the doorway of her bedroom and cry because he could still smell her perfume on the pillow but couldn't understand why she wouldn't come pick him up. I picked him up instead. Our aunt, Diane, took legal custody. But I need you to understand what took custody actually meant. It meant Diane signed the paperwork. That's it. She let us live in her basement. She collected the Social Security survivor benefits that were meant for Marcus. And she made sure I knew, every single day, that we were a burden. You eat too much. That boy cries too loud. If it weren't for me, you'd both be in foster care. I heard that sentence so many times it stopped hurting. It just became background noise. Like traffic. Like rain. So I did what I had to do. At 15, I got a job at a grocery store. Lied about my age. I worked 4-hour shifts after school, then came home and fed Marcus, bathed him, read to him, and put him to bed. I did his laundry in the bathroom sink because Diane said we used too much of her detergent. At 17, I added a weekend job at a dry cleaner. At 19, I got us our own apartment. A studio. 1 room with a hot plate and a mattress on the floor. Marcus had just started kindergarten. I remember walking him to school that first day. He was wearing a little blue backpack I bought with tip money. He held my hand so tight. He looked up at me at the school entrance and said, "Are you gonna be here when I come back?" I knelt down. I looked him right in the eyes. "Always," I said. And I meant it. The years nobody counts. I'm not going to walk you through every year. That would take too long, and honestly, some of those years blur together when you're just surviving. But here's what you need to know. I paid for Marcus's school supplies. His clothes. His field trips. His braces. His first computer. His SAT prep course. His college application fees. I didn't go to college myself. I want you to sit with that for a second. Because people hear that and they move past it quickly. But I need you to understand, I was smart. My teachers told me I was smart. I had a guidance counselor who practically begged me to apply to state schools. She said I could get scholarships. She said I had potential. But potential doesn't feed a 7-year-old. So I worked. I became a medical billing specialist. It's not glamorous. It pays okay. It kept the lights on and kept Marcus in clothes that didn't come from donation bins. Marcus, to his credit, did beautifully. Honor roll. Track team. Scholarship to a state university. Then an MBA. Then a job at a consulting firm downtown. 6 figures before he turned 28. I was so proud of him that it physically hurt. Like my chest couldn't contain it. And for a long time, things were good. He called me every Sunday. He came to my apartment for dinner once a month. He told his friends, "My sister raised me. She's the reason I'm here." Those words meant more to me than any amount of money. But then something shifted. And I didn't see it coming. The woman who changed everything. Her name was Vanessa. Marcus met her at a work event about 3 years ago. She was polished. Confident. Came from a family with money, the kind of family that owns lake houses and has opinions about wine regions. I met her for the first time at a restaurant Marcus picked. Upscale. The kind of place where the menu doesn't have prices. I showed up in my nicest blouse. I'd ironed it twice. Vanessa looked at me when I sat down. She smiled. But her eyes did that thing, that quick flicker where someone scans you from top to bottom and makes a decision before you even speak. "So," she said, stirring her cocktail, "Marcus tells me you work in billing? Medical billing."
Yeah.
That must be stable. She said stable the way someone says quaint. Like it was a consolation prize. I let it go. I wanted to like her. Marcus was happy. That mattered more than my comfort. But things got worse over the next year. Small things at first. Marcus stopped calling on Sundays. Then the monthly dinners became every other month. Then quarterly. Then, when things calmed down. When I'd call, Vanessa would sometimes answer his phone. "He's busy, Grace. I'll let him know." He never called back. But I didn't realize the worst part yet. I didn't know what she was saying about me when I wasn't in the room. I wouldn't learn that until the wedding. The invitation that felt like a warning. The wedding invitation arrived in a cream-colored envelope. Thick paper. Gold lettering. I opened it at my kitchen table. My name was spelled wrong. It said Gracie, a name nobody has ever called me. Inside, there was no personal note. Nothing handwritten. Just the printed invitation and a response card. I called Marcus. "Hey, I got the invitation. I'm so happy for you." "Thanks, Grace." His voice was flat. Distracted. "Do you need help with anything?" "Planning, setup, I can." Vanessa's got it handled. Her mom's running point. "Okay. Well, am I sitting with family?" There was a pause. Just a half-second too long. "We'll figure out seating closer to the date." That pause. I should have listened to what that pause was telling me. But I didn't. Because I trusted him. Because he was the boy in the blue backpack. Because I believed that no matter what changed on the surface, what we had underneath was unbreakable. I was wrong. The day I'll never forget. The wedding was at a vineyard estate outside the city. Beautiful. Probably cost more than I make in 2 years. I wore a deep navy dress I bought specifically for the occasion. I spent money I probably shouldn't have. I also brought a gift, a watch. Not an expensive one. But inside the box, I tucked a handwritten letter. 10 pages. Every memory. Every milestone. Every moment I wanted him to carry into his marriage. The ceremony was lovely. I sat in the 4th row. Not the 1st. Not the 2nd. The 4th. Behind Vanessa's college roommates. I didn't say anything. During the vows, Marcus looked at Vanessa and said, "You are the first person who ever made me feel like I truly belong." The crowd swooned. My stomach dropped. The first person? I held you when you had nightmares. I taught you to ride a bike in a parking lot because we didn't have a yard. I sat in emergency rooms at 3 in the morning when you had asthma attacks. I was the first person. I was the only person for years. But I kept my face still. I smiled. I clapped. Then came the reception. The seat card. 200 guests filtered into the reception hall. Crystal chandeliers. Floral centerpieces that probably cost more than my monthly rent. A live band warming up on stage. There was a large seating chart near the entrance. Calligraphy on a mirror. Very elegant. I searched for my name. It wasn't with the family table. It wasn't at the friends table. It was at table 22. Table 22 was in the back corner. Near the kitchen doors. Next to the table where the DJ had stacked his equipment cases. I walked over. Found my seat. And there it was. A place card in beautiful handwriting. Grace, Freeloader. I picked it up. I looked at it. I turned it over. Nothing on the back. The woman next to me, a stranger, glanced at my card and then looked away quickly, embarrassed for me. I set the card face down on the table. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. But I didn't cry. I didn't cry because I'd spent 24 years teaching myself that crying doesn't fix anything. Action does. I sat down. I folded my hands. And I watched the room. That's when I noticed something. Vanessa's mother, Claudia, was watching me from across the hall. She was at the family table, of course. Sipping champagne. And she was watching me with this look, this satisfied little expression. Like she'd accomplished something. And suddenly I understood. The seat card. The back table. The misspelled name on the invitation. The slow, methodical separation of Marcus from me over the past 2 years. This wasn't carelessness. This was a campaign. And Claudia was the architect. The moment I almost left. I almost stood up and walked out. I want to be honest about that. I'm not going to pretend I was perfectly composed. I sat there for 10 minutes staring at the centerpiece, and every one of those minutes felt like an hour. The speeches started. Vanessa's father talked about his daughter. His pride. His love. Then Claudia stood up and gave a speech about welcoming Marcus into a real family, a family that would give him the foundation he deserved. A real family. A foundation he deserved. I watched Marcus's face when she said it. He didn't flinch. He didn't look at me. He just smiled and squeezed Vanessa's hand. That hurt worse than the seat card. But what happened next is why I stayed. Marcus stood up to give his speech. He thanked Vanessa. He thanked her parents. He thanked his college friends. He thanked his boss. He didn't mention me. Not once. 200 people. A 10-minute speech. And the woman who raised him, who chose him over her own education, her own youth, her own life, didn't exist. The stranger next to me put her hand on my arm. "Are you okay?" she whispered. I looked at her. "Not yet," I said. "But I will be." The envelope. During the dinner, I excused myself. I walked to the parking lot. I sat in my car for 5 minutes. I breathed. Then I opened my glove compartment and pulled out the manila envelope. "See, there's something I haven't told you yet. Something I'd been carrying for 3 months. When Marcus got engaged, I decided to give him his wedding gift early. Not the watch. Something bigger. I'd been saving money quietly, painfully, for over a decade. Every month, I put a small amount into a savings account I'd opened in his name when he was 12. Birthday money. Tax refund scraps. Overtime pay from holiday shifts. It had grown to $82,000. $82,000. I'd planned to sign it over to him at the wedding. A down payment for their first house. I'd had the bank prepare the transfer documents. They were in the envelope. But there was something else in that envelope too. Something I hadn't planned to use until I saw that seat card. Over the past few months, a friend of mine who works in accounting had mentioned something to me in passing. She'd worked briefly with Vanessa's family's business. She told me, carefully, nervously, that Claudia's interior design company had been flagging in audits. Unpaid contractors. Falsified invoices. Clients who'd paid for work that was never completed. My friend had given me documentation. Not to use maliciously, she just thought I should know who my brother was marrying into. I'd tucked those documents into the envelope alongside the bank papers. Insurance, I told myself. Just in case. I never thought I'd need it. I sat in that parking lot, holding the envelope, and I made a decision. The return. I walked back into the reception. Calm. Steady. The cake had just been cut. People were mingling. Laughing. The band was playing something soft. I didn't go to my table. I walked directly to the family table. Marcus saw me coming. His face did something complicated, surprise, guilt, annoyance, all in one flicker. Grace, hey. Can I speak for a moment? I said. Not loud. Not angry. Just clear. Vanessa put her hand on Marcus's arm. This isn't really the time. It'll only take a minute. Claudia leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms. That satisfied look again. I reached into my bag and pulled out the seat card. I placed it on the table in front of Marcus, face up. Grace, Freeloader. He looked at it. His jaw tightened. I didn't, he started. I know you didn't write it, I said. I looked at Claudia. She didn't blink. But you allowed the environment where someone thought this was acceptable. The table went quiet. People at nearby tables started to notice. I'm not going to make a scene, I said. That's not who I am. But I need you to know something. I opened the manila envelope. I pulled out the bank documents. I placed them on the table in front of Marcus. That's a savings account I started when you were 12. $82,000. Every dollar I could spare for the past decade. It was supposed to be my wedding gift to you. A down payment for your first home. Marcus's eyes went wide. Vanessa leaned forward. Even Claudia unfolded her arms. I was going to sign it over to you tonight, I said. But I realize now that my gift isn't wanted. And honestly, after tonight, I understand my place. I picked the documents back up. So I'm going to keep this money. And I'm going to use it for what I should have used it for 20 years ago. Grace, wait, Marcus stood up. I'm going to go back to school. The room was so quiet I could hear the ice melting in the water glasses. I gave up my education for you, Marcus. Gladly. I'd do it again. But I won't stand in a room where the person I sacrificed everything for lets someone call me a freeloader and doesn't even say my name in his speech. Marcus's eyes were filling with tears. I was going to mention you. Vanessa thought, the speech was already long. I looked at Vanessa. She looked away. Then I pulled out the second set of documents. I didn't place them on the table. I just held them. And I looked directly at Claudia. I also want you to know, I said quietly, that I'm aware of the financial issues with your design company. The unpaid contractors. The falsified invoices. Claudia's face went white. Completely white. Like someone had pulled a plug and drained all the color from her skin. I wasn't going to say anything. Ever. Because I don't operate that way. But I want you to understand something. I stepped closer to her. I lowered my voice so only the family table could hear. The woman you called a freeloader has $82,000 she saved on a billing clerk's salary. What does that tell you about character, Claudia? And what would your clients say if they knew where their money actually went? I didn't threaten. I didn't raise my voice. I just asked a question and let it sit there like a stone dropped into still water. Claudia opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Nothing came out. I turned back to Marcus. I love you. I will always love you. You are the best thing I ever did. But I'm done proving it to people who've already decided I'm worthless. I kissed his forehead. Just like I used to when I put him to bed at night. Then I walked out. The aftermath. I'd love to tell you Marcus ran after me that night. He didn't. He stood at that table and he let me leave. And that might have been the most painful part of the whole evening. But he called me 3 days later. He was crying so hard I could barely understand him. I saw the seat card, Grace. I asked Vanessa about it. She said her mom did it. She said her mom has been telling her for 2 years that you were taking advantage of me. That you were only close to me because of my salary. That you expected me to support you forever. I was quiet for a long time. And you believed that? I asked. I don't know. I don't know what I believed. I just let it happen. I let them push you away and I didn't stop it. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He came to my apartment that weekend. He sat on the same couch where I used to help him with homework. And he cried the way he cried when he was small, full body, no holding back. I held him. Because that's what I do. But I also told him the truth. I forgive you, Marcus. But things are going to be different now. I'm enrolling in community college in January. I'm using that money for me. And you need to decide what kind of man you're going to be, not what kind of man someone else wants you to be. He nodded. As for Claudia, I never released those documents. I never reported her. But someone did. 4 months after the wedding, 2 of her former clients filed complaints. Her company is currently under review. Funny how the truth has a way of surfacing on its own. Vanessa and Marcus are still married. Our relationship is healing, slowly. He calls every Sunday again. He came to my apartment last month and cooked dinner, badly, but he tried. And last week, I started my first semester. 40 years old in a classroom full of 20-year-olds. And you know what? I'm the happiest I've been in 24 years. What I learned. I'm not going to preach. That's not what this is. But I'll say this. The people who sacrifice the most are often the easiest to overlook. Because they do it quietly. Because they don't ask for recognition. Because they've trained the world to believe they don't have needs. But they do. I do. And if you're watching this and you're the person who always gives, who always puts everyone else first, I want you to hear me. Your seat is not at the back table. Your name is not Freeloader. And the money, the time, the love you poured into someone else, it doesn't disappear. It becomes who they are. But you're allowed to become someone too.